welcome to episode 118 of On the Bench, the podcast for scale modelers by scale modelers, all about scale models. And this episode is being brought to you by Ken Spa. Ken has become one of our super supporters through Patreon. And you too can help support the show. Simply go to www.patreon.com/onthebench and pledge any amount from $1 per month upwards. Your contributions help us with our production costs and are greatly appreciated. In this episode, we're going to be having a chat about it's okay to be an average modeler. But before I do that and introduce the boys, let's hear from our sponsor, SMS Paints. Established in 2016, the Scale Modeler Supply has developed a comprehensive range of premium acrylic lacquer paints designed specifically with the scale modeler in mind. Certified Australian made, SMS paints are tough and durable with a fast drying time that have been designed to use straight from the bottle, taking all the guesswork out of airbrushing. Simply shake and spray. The ever-growing range of SMS paints will suit all types of model builders, be it military, aircraft, cars, train, science fiction or gunpla. SMS premium acrylic lacquer paints will have a colour to suit you. SMS products are available through a trusted network of stores across Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, the US, and are also now available for the first time in the UK through From Model Centre. Check the SMS website at www.scalemodeler.com.au to find your closest stockist. These paints are on my bench and I use them all the time, so I know that you will not be disappointed. And hello and welcome to the show, Ian.
G'day, Dave. G'day, listeners.
And of course, Julian.
Good morning.
Bubbly self as always, Julian.
Well, I've had less than 5 hours sleep.
Why? What have you been doing?
Well, I was having a nice time chilling late at night, watching some stuff, reading a bit of this and that. And then I was like, oh, that's right. I've got to, wake up early to record a podcast. Oh, okay. It's like, that's how it goes, You just gotta meet your obligations.
Yes, it's such a tough obligation to meet too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I've got to send out our thoughts and sympathies for Greece, Turkey, and also California having a hard time with some bushfires or brush fires, however you want to call it in that part of the world. Again, it's seems to be an ongoing occurrence, particularly in, say, California. They seem to have really big fires every year now, pretty much like Victoria does. So,
yeah.
And of course, I know that up in Canada, they were still having some major fires up there. So, yeah, hopefully everybody's safe and well and their property's safe, particularly our listeners.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, what have you guys been up to? Let's start with you, Ian. What have you been doing?
Just working on me Copper State models, World War I Canadian machine gun carrier.
And how's that coming along?
Yeah, working on the interior, put the main colours down, then gave it a wash with some a mixture of sepia and grey oils, and then gave it a nice bit of a dry brush and started me paint chipping on the interior.
Cool. Bought any new kits?
No, I've actually had a couple of weeks where I haven't purchased.
Oh, gee, that's so unlike you.
I know. Nothing's grabbed me so far, so guarantee there'll be something in the next few weeks I'll grab.
Oh, of course. At the moment, Julian, what have you been up to, mate?
Not a lot. I got a bit stalled on my little 70-second scale armor thing. I got to the wheels, and because I wanted to get the wheels before I start, get the chore part of things out of the way before I start sticking things on top of the hull. And you know how like most of the time when you clip wheels off the sprue for an armor model,
yeah,
they're usually held on by 2 sprue gates. Well, these things are tiny, and each wheel is held on by 4, and there's 2 wheels per wheel, so to speak. There's the inside and the outside wheel.
Yeah.
It's a lot of wheels.
Uh,
And I
especially
got to
if,
be careful when I clean them up because they're so small that one, extra swipe of the sanding stick and I've got a flat spot.
especially for that scale, that seems a bit of a overkill.
Oh, well, it's just how they've done it. I'm sure they did it for a reason. So I'm sludging through that, and then after that, I'll have to do the tracks.
Any new
I'm not
purchases?
sure how I'll do that yet.
Any new-
I might. No, I'm not going to purchase that. There's probably no aftermarket for it anyway.
Yeah. Oh. You'll be fine. You'll be fine, my friend.
Yeah, I just got to, trudge through it.
Well, I have had a crack at the Musaru Cup kit.
Yeah, saw some images. Quite impressive.
Yeah, well, we're not going to talk about what the images are because that's going to be a state secret until the final reveal.
Yep.
Got until March to get it finished, but I finally settled on what I'm going to do, and I've been busy ordering some decals to go with it and a few other odds and sods. So yeah, I think it's going to come up all right. Actually, I'm slowly, the confidence level is slowly creeping up.
Good to hear.
So fingers crossed. That's about all I've been doing, really. Purchases. Oh, I bought the new AFV kit M113, the Australian version. So I've got a couple of them stashed away now.
Oh, you bought 2?
Yeah, of course. You can't just build one. I'm going to do one as in the Australia-Vietnam era, and another one sort of a little bit more later on in its career, maybe just as the new camouflage came in.
Oh, yeah.
So that's about all that's sitting on my bench at the moment. And I went back and I touched up a couple of models that were sitting in the cabinet, a couple of little things that caught my eye that were annoying me. So just reached in the cabinet and dragged them out and just, you can have a kit that you've built that can sit there and you think you've done it, and you come back a couple of weeks later, you go, oh, gee, I missed that bit, or that doesn't look too good. So I thought, I'll just go in and touch up a few of them. So that's what I've been doing.
That's a pretty game thing to do.
Oh, no, it's, like for example, I had an armoured personnel carrier for Space Marines, and I hadn't painted the periscope glass on the hatches, and for some reason I'd missed it, and I went back and just fixed that up as one small thing. Yeah, just these little small things that you notice, and that's sitting there for a while.
Oh, sounds good.
And of course, made sure there was no requirement. This is the thing with cabinets, trying to keep the damn dust out. It is a heck of a battle, and I put seals on all of my cabinet doors, and so far it seems to be working quite well. There was no particular dust that I could see had sort of gathered on the model, so I think I've sort of cracked that little one, which is good. Yeah. So, shall we have a look at what listener mail has? We've got a few items written in.
Yeah, sounds good, Dave.
Let's see now. The first one comes from Paul Caridi. And Paul writes in, hello, Dave, Ian, and a grunt to the morning person, which is you, Julian.
Yes, that's me.
Thanks for your tip about the YouTube documentary about the Battle of Midway Island. Surely there's going to be a mainstream movie in that short story. The Battle of May Island, I beg your pardon.
Yes.
Yes.
Very cool.
And can I ask your team, have you guys got any experience in scratch building navigation lights and aircraft, especially in 1/72 and 1/48 scale, where the molds aren't as prominent? How do you get them to appear transparent and yet still have them green, yellow, or red?
Polishing.
Go ahead.
Is he talking about the clear ones or the ones where it's molded onto the wing and it's just grey?
I'm thinking both. So let's have a chat about both of them.
Well, with the solid ones, it's hard to make it appear transparent because it's not. So I've heard of people like taking you can get like acrylic rod and you can just sort of sand that to fit the because sometimes like the actual like light housing is a bit of a curved corner in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can shape it and then glue it in, and then once it's glued in, then you can cut it off and then sand the outside of it to shape, and then just polish it up. It's tedious, but it can be done. And then you just gotta paint it your choice of what was it like red and green. As for the if you want to add more detail to an existing, like if you look at the Tamiya ones, they'll have like a small hollow section on the inside because what they want you to do is they want you to put the little green or red light. So you want to put like a little dob of the clear red or green in that little cavity on the inside of it, and then glue it on so that it's clear on the outside.
So it looks like you've got a coloured bulb, not a coloured lens.
But if you don't have that, you can just drill it out, right?
Yeah, that's easily done. Just a bit of a drill.
Yeah, but that's not every light. That's just those lights. There are different. Like, they vary. Just make sure you're using references.
And if you're putting it on if you're having to paint it onto like a solid plastic or a solid colour, well, I usually just put down a bit of chrome first before I put down the clear green or blue or orange or red. And that gives you more the look of that. There's actually a lens or a cup behind it.
Yeah, chrome is pretty good for whenever you're dealing with any kind of light.
Yep. Yeah, chrome background, perfect.
It 1/72 scale. It's not as apparent that you can sort of see the lights anyway. So you could even really just sort of skip that if you really wanted to.
Yeah, you could.
There's no.
I'd probably still pick it out with like a tiny dab of just glossy red or glossy green.
Very good. Hope that answers your question, Paul. And Paul also sent a picture in of his Dolphin helicopter that he's working on, which is done in the colours of the Victorian Police Force.
All right.
It looks mighty fine. I'm very impressed with that one.
Nice.
Brad Belsham writes in, have you guys talked much about 48 scale armour? Seems like it's always being predicted that it'll fail, but Tamiya just announced their 100th kit. And I'm not really quite sure what Brad's really getting at there. The failure of 48 scale?
Well, in any case, it's not a very big and well-supported scale.
48 scale?
48 scale armor.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's what he said, right?
Yeah, 48 scale armor.
Yeah, well, there's Tamiya. They're the main player in it. There's a few Hobby Boss kits, and there's some resin type options. I think Suyata also had the brand that has the weird mannequin looking soldier figures. They've got like a panther in that scale. So there's a few small players, and then you got Tamiya taking up most of the real estate. Other than that, it doesn't get a whole lot of attention. It's kind of like in between. So it's 72nd scale's there, and it's used for wargaming, and then you've got 35th scale, which is the mainstay for most armor models, and 48 scale sort of lingers around in the middle.
You want something to go with the aeroplanes.
Well, that's about the only reason you can sort of see it being there, really, couldn't you? If you want, if you want to have an aircraft scaled against a tank, that's the only real reason I can see for the use of it.
Exactly.
See, I think it's easy to become a very big fan of 48 scale armor because Tamiya is the one making most of them. You buy one, you're like, oh, this is a nice size and it's really well engineered. And that's how you become a fan of the scale, but really you're just a fan of Tamiya. But I mean, like he might have his own reasons, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily. I mean, that's just how I would think about it. I've built some of those. I actually went through like a spell where I bought like a pile of them. There was a guy at a swap and sell, and he was selling a lot of them. I just bought them all. I think I had like 10 of them, and then I got rid of some, stuffed up one or two others, and I haven't touched them since.
Yeah, I've got a few 48 scale vehicles, but they're mainly stuff that you could find around airfields.
Mm.
The frustrating thing is that some of Tamiya's 48 scale kits are the best, were the best kits for that particular subject in any scale.
Yeah, they're beautiful kits.
You know, like for example, they had the Crusader. If you wanted to build a good Crusader, it's like, well, you would have to build the 48 scale Tamiya one, because the only other option was the crappy Italeri one in 35th. But now we've got like a half decent one from was it Riffield?
Riffield models, yeah.
Or Border models?
Oh, one of those two. Border might have been Border models, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. But they've still got a few other things. There's like some armored cars and things like that are still really, really good in that scale, but no option in any other scale.
Oh, hopefully that answers the question. Wayne Peters writes in, wanting to know, will you guys be doing a podcast from Model Expo this year, if it's able to go ahead? Absolutely.
Wouldn't miss it for quids.
Well, we're just going to hope that we can actually get there. And
it might miss us.
As we broadcast this, we've just been forced into lockdown number 6.
Yep.
Oh, man, that's so frustrating.
Oh, I think they're just taking the piss, Dave.
Nah, it's yeah.
It's just as usual, it's just a small group of people that ruin it for the rest of us.
Yeah. Oh well, just go and get vaccinated so we can get out of this. It's the only way out of it. Ken Spar sent me a message. He says, Dave, don't take crap about mispronounced words. I'm your age, and at a certain point we can say whatever we want because we've earned it. Carry on the great work.
Yeah, but I've earned the right to diss him, so I'll continue to do so.
Oh, that's true. What's got? Tim Young writes in, and Tim hails from Yorkshire in England. And he writes, hi, Dave and friends. Sorry to hear about your continued lockdowns. Here in the UK, we're hoping to have our first model show return in August, but it's very much wait and see. I enjoyed your discussion on small scales, my favourite topic in modelling, making tiny scenes. On the armour topic, there are actually quite a lot of models available smaller than 1/72nd. SDV Models from the Czech Republic makes a large series of World War II and Cold War vehicles in 1/87th scale, which matches the standard European model railway HO gauge. Zvezda also do a range of 1/100 AFVs for their wargaming system. Some of the early models are quite basic, but more recent ones make decent builds. Of course, there's the 1/144th. They are exquisitely detailed resin and etch models from Brengun, which is also a Czech company, including a T62 and an FT17. Aside from that, there are also lots of white metal wargame models, which vary from single-piece mouldings to multi-part kits, including open hatches interiors with photo etch parts. The scales can be a bit confusing, as wargaming scales are generally in millimetres, referring to the height of the figure. But while some manufacturers use overall figure height, others work from toes to eyes, so for soldiers with big hats, there can be quite a difference. That's interesting. Many manufacturers have now picked a set ratio scale for their models, so the popular 10mm scale is now usually represented as 1/160th. And 15mm scale, 15mm figures as 1/100th. Some firms now offer 12mm scale, which matches the 1/144th, so provides great crossover for modelers. The increased availability of 3D prints on demand means you can often pick up your exact scale when ordering. Rather like with planes, armour modelling in 1/44th limits the fine details that you can offer, so lots of modelers overlook it, but provides great diorama potential. I recently made a scene when you attached an image of a German Stug battery on the early days of Barbarossa, entirely on a 7x5 inch canvas with all white metal wargame parts. Thanks again for covering and helping to promote the diversity in modelling, and I hope you all keep safe. Best regards from Tim Young.
Thanks, Tim.
I gotta say, you go in and talk about a subject and so much other stuff comes out of it in regards to, things that we hadn't even thought of or weren't aware of. So
Yeah, definitely.
it's great that people write in. I've got an interesting email from David Waples who writes in, and he said he's come across an old TV series that in Australia we're quite familiar with. It's the old TV show called Patrol Boat, which is now on YouTube.
Yes. Remember Patrol Boat?
Somebody uploaded the whole VHS collection. And I wrote back and said to him that there's actually a follow-up show, which was done in 2007, called Sea Patrol. And for those who haven't seen either shows, it's about a Australian Navy patrol boat up in the north of Australia, and all the hijinks and adventures that they do in their day-to-day
Shenanigans.
sort of role. Shenanigans, yeah. Oh, that's quite funny.
Is it like a cheapo sort of 80s era version of like Miami Vice or something? Is that not as glamorous?
Oh, it sort of is and it sort of isn't. It's the naval patrol boat version of Top Gun. How's that sound?
That's a very strange thing.
That's an interesting way of putting it. So what's the volleyball?
without the volleyball, yeah. Oh, it's it's quite it's a good show. It really is. And
speaking of Top Gun, B&A have recently updated their website, so I was going through all of their new release new items catalog, and I found in there's a figure that is basically a Tom Cruise from Top Gun, like leaning against his bike.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. Like it's got his very distinctive nose and all that.
And what scale is it?
Oh, I think it might be like 120 or something like that.
All right, yep.
That's a decent size. Alex Johnson writes in, "Hi, David and Julian. Thanks for your advice about the Yorktown. I've moved it up in the building queue, and I'm looking forward to tackling it. I had to listen to your episode about the future of modelling, and it got me thinking about the future of the Golden Sprue Awards. I agree that excellence in the hobby does need to be acknowledged at all levels, but at the end of the day, modelling companies are businesses that need to make money in order to survive, as proven by the Wingnut Wings and Kitty Hawk. And winning awards is a way to gain prestige and justify premium prices. In the movie business, there has developed a practice called Oscar baiting. In the months immediately before voting for the Academy Awards opens, films where actors give the performance of a lifetime are released in an effort to be fresh in their minds of the voters. Hacksaw Ridge comes to mind as an example. On the other side of the coin, the month after the ceremony is often marked with lower quality films being released and dumped everywhere. This is to keep a continuing stream of money coming in while getting rid of the trash before the next award season. Do you see a future where modelling companies adopt similar strategies to win the Golden Sprue? And will there come a day when we have to think twice about buying new releases in October and November? Keep up the good work and stay strong during lockdown episode 6, Return of the Vaccine. That's from Alex.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, it's an interesting one.
I don't think the Golden Sprue Awards has enough of a presence to dictate the way manufacturers release anything.
Yeah, because it's only new, isn't it?
Well, it's only been one so far, and
yeah,
actually, I'm wondering when the next one
give it a few years, and if it gets any larger, then there's a good chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean,
I agree.
Assuming, sorry,
I'm going to say I agree with you, Julian. I can't see manufacturers purposely holding back or timing a release just for the Golden Sprue Awards. They're more likely to do it for major shows like the what's a big show in Germany?
Nuremberg.
Nuremberg.
And also the one in Japan as well.
And
Shizuoka. Yeah.
Telford in England.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head.
The Nats in the United States.
Yeah.
And the odd crappy kit for Expo in Melbourne. Because we're so far down the chain.
Yeah. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Like, and even then, they basically sort of bend. They don't base their release around it. They just sort of go, well, these shows are on. We may as well release them here, and people can snap up photos and all the rest. And people expect, news to come out of those shows.
Yeah.
Very good. Thanks for the email. Of course, if you want to send us an email with some information, you can do so by using the address onthebench64@gmail.com. We appreciate all emails that come in, and we do write back to all of those who do send us something. I think we'll take a short break, and we'll come back and have a look at what's new in the modelling world. Whether you build aircraft, armour, ships, science fiction, cars or figures, the Fine Scale Modeller magazine provides the how-to information you need to take your modelling to the next level. In each issue of Fine Scale Modeller, you'll find clear how-to features on model assembly and finishing written by experts, reviews of the hottest model kits and products, tips and techniques for assembling, painting and finishing, as well as inspiring photos of readers' models. To find out how you can get your copy of Fine Scale Modeller, go to www.finescale.com. Okay, so let's have a chat about what's new in the modelling world. But before I do, I was very remiss in once again thanking IPMS Hamilton for supporting the Mooseeroo Cup. Without them, we wouldn't be where we are in regards to having this wonderful competition between all of the podcasts. So thanks very much to all the chaps over there. So the Falcon has written in with a whole heap of new stuff. So let's chew through it, shall we? So from the Falcon, hi Dave and the boys. Here's a bit of news for y'all. Firstly, aircraft news. Copper State Models have been showing CAD renders of their forthcoming 32nd scale Cauldron G3. As we would expect from Copper State Models, it looks like they will deliver a beautifully detailed and engineered model. On the downside, it looks like a nightmare of wires, booms and struts and far too many wheels for an aircraft of its size. One for the enthusiasts only, I reckon. It is expected to retail for around €56, which is cheaper than Copper State's Models Newport 17. You can use your savings to buy rigging wire.
There's be a lot less plastic in it too.
AFV Club are doing a limited edition 2-model set of a Changcheng F5F and a Tiger Gaza RF5E. It is, of course, a re-release of their existing 48 scale F5 kits, but will most likely be a cheaper option than buying both kits separately. Previously available from Special Hobby, Edward have now released their version of the Hawker Tempest 2 in 148 scale. The kit comes with 6 marking options, all Royal Air Force, and 5 of the options are camouflage with 1 in overall silver. That'd be an interesting kit to get. AMP Models have just shown built-up test shots of their 148 scale Aerospatiale/Westland Gazelle helicopter. Good news for 48 scale chopper fans, as previously available large-scale Gazelle was in 150th scale, which was close but not close enough. Expected to be released later this year. Avis,
I don't know if you pronounced Aerospatiale or whatever it was correctly, but it sounded kind of correct. So I'll give you points there.
Oh, you're too kind. Avis Models, or Avis. Avis. Who are Avis models? Have you guys heard of them before?
Never heard of
No, I haven't heard of them.
Avis models, spelt AVIS, who like to follow the road less travelled, have now left the road entirely and wandered far off down a barely forested trail in their latest subject choices. They have announced 3 1/72nd scale kits of the Hawker Signet, a Signet with a Scorpion engine, a Signet with an Ansel engine, and a Signet with a Bristol Cherub 3 engine.
That's Anzani engine.
Thank you. Announced at the same time was a 72nd scale Pemberton Billing PB25 Scout. Honestly, hats off to anyone who's heard of these. You should go on Mastermind if you have. Your special subject would be aircraft nobody has heard of. Oh, jeez. Models Vits.
So, you know, there's going to be one guy out there. One guy is like, "Oh, we needed one of these."
Yeah.
I'm
good thing we're getting all 3 versions.
What this Pemberton Billing Scout looks like.
Yeah. When you find it, let us know. Models fit. Their 148 scale Yak 9D is ready for sale. The kit is all new and shares no sprues with the early Yak 9 kits, which were actually pretty good. The model has reached the hands of a couple of reviewers, and the response has been very positive. Lots of detail in the cockpit, finely executed surface detail, and looks to be very accurate. Seems there is finally a good 48 scale model of this important Soviet World War II fighter. Only downside is the single piece closed canopy. It is commendably clear, but would have been nice to have an open canopy so you could show off all of that lovely cockpit detail. ICM Models will be releasing an OV-10A version of their 148 scale Bronco US attack aircraft in October. Nice news of those wanting to do a Vietnam War Bronco. Keeping the best for last in the aircraft world, our friends at Dora Wings posted CAD renders of a Republic P-47 Thunderbolt on their Facebook page. Apparently the kit will be 148 scale with a 72nd scale version to follow. Sure, there are other nice 48 scale P-47s on the market, but they are all Ds. The Dora kit will allow you to build the earlier P-47s, the B and the C, and some early Ds. It fills an important gap in the lineup of 48 scale US World War II fighters. People will finally get the chance to build a modern kit of the first Thunderbolt to see action. That's the end of the aircraft news. It does. On to military vehicles, and the Falcon says that Dragon Models will be releasing a 135th scale kit of the Panther OS FD type liquefied petroleum gas. It is more of a re-release, as it was previously available as a Cyber Hobby kit, white box kit, I should say. Comes with magic tracks, though, apparently. Yeah. Dragon
so they had running on LPG.
Well, they must have.
Wow. Make a big boom when it went up.
Well, you got to think. I guess the Germans are getting desperate at some point for fuel, so it makes sense.
I've seen some coal-powered vehicles that they had during the war, but
even in the UK, they had those coal-powered trucks and cars and stuff like that. But that was more for the civilian population to sort of be able to fuel their vehicles.
Yep.
Dragon has also announced the re-release of 3 1/72nd scale T-34s, the T-34/76 model 1941, the T-34/76 model 1942 from JICA, and the T-34/76 model 1943. Oh, well, there you go. If you like your T-34s in 72nd scale, you're spoilt for choice.
You've got a great choice.
Amusing Hobbies have announced their latest variant of their 35th scale T-72, which is to go on sale. A T-72nd AV with contact, explosive reaction armour, and the kit, like the other 72nd, comes with a full interior. Border Models have been showing build test shots of their forthcoming 35th scale mobile wagon, looks fine to me, but then knowing nothing about the mobile wagon, so aren't really qualified to comment. ICM models have shown CAD renders for 135th scale BM 13-16 Katusha rocket launcher on a US Army truck G7017 base. As they already kit both the truck and the rocket launcher, it was no surprise to see the two of them married up. This should be released in October. What is a bit newer from ICM is their 135th scale Laffy, which is a V15T French truck from World War II, appeared in their 2021 catalogue. ICM have shown renders on their Facebook page, and it's very quirky, almost charming little vehicle, which may appeal to those modelers looking to cleanse their palate after building too much of the heavy stuff.
Yeah, that's the weird thing with the little tiny wheels up the front.
Oh, that one, yeah. Looks like they've married a Jeep to a truck body, a Jeep nose to a truck body.
Yeah, that's the one.
They're a weird looking thing, that big.
Yeah, I mean, I was always, well, it's a quirky vehicle. I always knew it was a quirky vehicle, but when I looked at saw the CAD renders, it just got even weirder.
Yeah,
because it's got like it's got like a transfer case, like much of these, like all 4-wheel drive vehicles do, but then it has 4 drive shafts coming out of it.
That's just typically French.
One to each of the wheels. It's weird.
French.
Moving on to the shipping report. Aoshima have made some announcements. They were in Japanese, a language that the Falcon doesn't speak or read. So he was at the mercy of Google Translate. So there are 4 kits mentioned, and all of them are re-releases. Starting with military vessels. First off, there's a 1/700 scale Yamashiro IJN battleship. This comes with, and I quote, a deck set and etching set. The photo etch parts are obvious enough, but not sure what a deck set would be.
Probably a wooden deck.
Yeah, possibly. A 1/700 scale Akitsumaru Imperial Army aircraft carrier. Yes, the Army aircraft carrier, which would go really well with those Army submarines.
I've got one of their
in
Army
Japan.
submarines, 1/350 scale.
I never knew that the Army actually did an aircraft carrier.
Oh, they had to do submarines because the Navy refused to deal with them.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
they couldn't get their supplies over the sea, so they had to try and get them under the sea.
You'll be pretty desperate to send supplies via submarine.
Yeah, anything on the surface got sunk.
And last in the military side of things is a 1/700 scale HMS Norfolk heavy cruiser. The last one that they've announced is a civilian vessel, and the translation via Google Translate says it's number 2 Oma's Tuna Yiben Diaro fishing boat, Fuku Maru, full hull model. Don't know what some of that meant, but it is a fishing boat, and the box art showed Ryu Fuka Maru, number 31, painted on the bow. So now that part is obviously the boat's name. As for the other stuff, the Falcon doesn't have a clue. Oh, and also the scale, it's in 1/64 scale. What kind of scale is that?
It's a fishing boat, so
Who cares? It's a one-off kit. Yeah, it's a one-off kit. It's a fishing boat. It's not something you stick with the rest of your kits.
And last but not least, from the Falcon, Micromere have shown renders of a new model they are working on. It's an Italian CB class midget submarine in 1/72nd scale. If, like me, you didn't know what an Italian CB class midget submarine looks like, then all you have to do is think of the Beatles' yellow submarine. The thing is a dead ringer. And that's it from the Falcon.
Well, that's it. You got to get one now and paint it yellow.
I don't know about that. Oh. All right, let's have a look at some more interesting news that has just come across. And this time is from Revell. They're showing the first test shots of their 48 scale SR-71 Blackbird.
Now, is this a new release or is this
the brand spanker? This is a brand spanker.
That's not the old monogram kit.
No, This is a full, brand new, never been seen before, fresh molds, 48 scale, SR71 Blackbird from Revell.
Wow.
They're calling it the Grey Project, and it's going to be a big bird in 48 scale, that's for sure. There are also features to keep people interested. So the J54 engines are going to be able to be displayed on the stand. And
So separate from the aircraft.
Yeah, actually separate from the aircraft. There's no understanding yet whether the engines can actually be fitted into the aircraft, so it'll be interesting to see. And the pictures of the test shots we've seen show the engines to be quite detailed, actually. So
Really?
lots of piping and stuff there. So
Yeah.
The thing is, like,
A lot of the
it's got a lot of piping, but it's all molded on piping.
Except the big bypass ones aren't. The big bypass pipes aren't.
Oh, yeah, those ones. But I mean, like all the small piping is, and everyone's going to look at it and go, "Oh, it's a shame. I'm going to have to replace these with resin ones, and then like put
considering the engines come in two halves, then you've got to tackle the seams on all the pipes, which looks like it's going to be a real challenge.
Yeah.
Sorry to put a downer on it, but besides that, it looks like a good kit.
Well, you don't have to have the engines on display, do you?
Yeah.
Hasegawa, they've got a new 24th scale Mazda Savannah RX-7, which is a new tool test shot.
Well, that's one for Julian.
I will buy this, and I'll do it as a secret present for my best friend. He had one of these when I was in my early 20s. And it was white, and he would park it out the front of his house, and he would never ever wash it. So it was caked in like this, black residue all across the hood, bonnet, whatever you want to call it. It had great big holes in the dash because it was just a total wreck of a car. But and he would push start it by rolling it down the hill that he lived on, right? And then he went on holiday to Japan, and when he came back, his dad had sold it for scrap metal.
Oh.
His dad was sick of looking at the piece of garbage.
Yeah, but the thing is that the car was worth something like $8,000 in scrap metal alone.
His dad gave him
not scrap metal, the body, the shell. The shell by itself would have been worth like $8,000, and his dad sold it for far less than that.
Well, this car first debuted in 1978, and I well remember it as a head turner when I was a young lad as well. It's interesting that I think this is the first new kit that I'm aware of that Hasegawa have produced in a little while, unless I'm not sort of up with the news from Japan. But
yeah, I think you're right.
It's certainly quite interesting, and I think they've picked a subject that will really sell quite well. The CAD renders show it to be quite good. The retractable headlights can be opened and closed. The plastic's going to be in dark green colour, which is odd. Silver-plated parts for the exclusive aluminium wheels and the inside of the headlights. There's going to be separate window decals, and they've released some pictures of some close-up shots of the test kit or the test shot parts that they've done. So the shell looks really good at the body, or the body looks really good actually. And I think that's going to build quite a nice kit. In particular, the underneath.
It's a curb kit, so no, you don't get it. You just get the bottom part of the motor in the chassis.
Yeah.
But no, it looks all right. It looks like a good starting base. We're going to do an RX-7.
It doesn't do.
Yeah, it's going to be like the thing is, what I need would be like different wheels, because it has to have like the different wheels that I would need to get for it.
And pull the mirrors back from the front.
Yeah. Pull the mirrors back. Then I would also need to like gouge giant holes in the dash and remove like the some of the other components, because he had like the upmarket dash that had like sort of I don't know different like stuff in there, and half of that stuff was missing. With some aftermarket like cheap early 2000s looking head unit. Oh, and I got to put rubbish all through the back seat and on the passenger side floor.
Like old McDonald's stuff and all that. And
Yeah.
empty beer
Like it
bottles.
was a typical sort of student sort of car.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
Well,
it'll
have
be
you
fun.
guys got any? You guys got any new modelling news? Well, that's pretty much it.
Well, I saw, was it a couple of days ago, Copper State Models are actually, believe it or not, bringing out a couple of figures for the Canadian machine gun carrier.
Oh, really?
Yeah. After I've already bought figures.
I was about to say, is it something you'd purchase or not?
Nah, I'm happy with the figures I got. I'll just have to do a bit of modification to make them a bit more Canadian looking.
Yeah, fair enough. Julian?
No, I don't have anything.
All right. Well, how about we swing into our main subject for discussion for this episode? And it's at the very beginning of the show, I sort of outlined we're going to be talking about it is okay to be an average modeler. And I thought we'd have a bit of discussion about this. By and large, the majority of modelers can never hope to reach the dizzying heights of, say, what's a fantastic modeler? Chris Rinaldi, for example, or
Mike Rinaldi, you mean?
Mike Rinaldi, or
Gomez, you got Uncle Night Shift.
Yeah.
People like that, Mike. Yeah, there's no. You look at those guys, and wow, it's going to take me 100 years to get to that level.
And the thing is about it is that it is okay to be an average modeler. You don't have to try and pitch every model you're building to be exactly the same or to be an award-winning model. Now, there's a lot of podcasts out there and a lot of YouTubes out there where they give you and they talk quite deeply in going down into depths of the art of, model making and all that. And that's perfectly fine. And in fact, I think it's a brilliant thing that there are people out there who are really trying to push the hobby to the edge of the universe. And that's a really great thing. But I'm worried whether there are some people who just don't have the skills, the inclination, or the time to do that, and whether that is a disincentive for them to sort of build. I mean, looking at all the wonderful sort of pictures on Facebook, do people get depressed because they can't reach that same level? Hence the reason for me saying it's okay to be an average modeler.
Yeah. It takes time. You can't be a perfect, a really, really good modeler overnight.
Yeah.
I've been building models for over 40 years and I'm still not a perfect model. I still stuff everything up. I try and put my hands to in some way or another.
I think if you just, if, I guess it depends too why you're modeling. If you're modeling.
You should be modeling to enjoy it.
Well, that's the very first thing. If you're not building to enjoy the hobby or to enjoy the actual process of building a model, then you're in it for the wrong reason, I'd suggest.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think when we have these discussions about, how to sort of push forward your modeling skills and how to do this particular form of like weathering or pre-shading or any of those stuff, it's okay to acknowledge you don't have to do that. And you can still get quite an acceptable kit that would look fantastic on anyone's shelf by not going to those extremes.
Yeah. Well, I know a few people that build models that are just clean.
Well, that sits squarely in my lap.
And they look great.
Yeah.
Unweathered, no going overboard with the details. They look great.
The thing is, right, I think it's important to highlight that the average modeler is probably a lot less skilled than we think it is. It's not, there's the modeling community, right? And we probably have an idea of what the average is within that. But the average modeler is probably lower because you consider that there's a lot of casuals out there. There's a lot of people out there who will just build only one or two models in their lifetime. And oh, the wife got me this thing for a present, and I'll brush paint this thing with house paint or whatever I've got lying around. I think the kids have got some watercolors around here somewhere. It's probably a lot lower than you think. It's like with driving. Like everyone thinks they're an above average driver. But we can't all be above average because that would make that the new average.
and there'd be no car accidents if that was the case.
Yeah, but I mean, you know what I mean. I mean, it's when you consider it in that light, right? Most of anyone who would be anyone who would be listening to this podcast is probably doing pretty well overall, just by the fact that they're listening to us. They've already have an interest. They've got more information at their disposal than most of the uninformed people who just do it because, this is a cool thing. It's a bit different from Lego and not as difficult as the Meccano I did as a kid and something like that.
Yeah, exactly right. And hence my reason for actually pitching this subject. And because I was sitting listening to another podcast, the Sprue Cutters Union, and you've got guys over there, and they're doing a fantastic job of promoting the hobby and really pushing the boundaries and pushing people to sort of achieve the best they can achieve. And they do that by some in-depth discussions, along with the other podcasts as well. It was particular with this one because I had an interview with a friend that we've had on the podcast, Al Murray. And Al was saying that, he doesn't go on social media looking at model stuff. He sort of his own little vacuum there, and he just sits and builds his Shermans and his British tanks, and he just gets a paintbrush out and paints them to his own sort of level of happiness. He's not he doesn't buy into the modelling scene as such. He just sort of, somebody has this huge interest in history and builds tanks to sort of fit into that part of that groove that he's got. And he does it without sort of, I can't recall him sharing to the wider community any sort of pictures of his works that he's done. But he says, I just do it to suit myself. And he sits on the kitchen table and does it.
Well, that kind of mindset is less of a modeler's mindset and more of these are cheap build-it-yourself merchandise for things I'm interested in. Right? Like you consider like the people, a lot of the people who are building the Star Wars molds from Bandai, they're not necessarily modelers at least in their own mind. I mean, we might call them a modeler of sorts, but in their head, they're just like, there's just another type of merchandise. I'll put this with my T-shirts and my posters and everything else, except I build it myself.
And the Bandai brand allows you just to snap fit it together without any glue and painting, and that's done.
Yeah. Another thing I want to touch on is I imagine people in the wargaming, like especially like Warhammer, right? In that community, it's really easy to get an idea of just exactly where you stand on the spectrum of skill, right? All it takes is for you to even attempt a handful of times or even one time, like a wet blend on a figure, and you quickly realize, between me and this guy who does it for a living on Instagram, there's there's like 7 years of learning between me and him. I could never hope to catch up. Like the skill ceiling for figures is just so ridiculously high. It becomes really apparent just how far away you are.
But I'm just recalling you, Julian, actually went and did a little project in which you built, it was a tank. And I think you built it without any weathering and without any sort of great flourish or fanfare or any sort of detailed painting. You just built a tank and you entered it into a competition and it won from memory.
Yes.
And that was done purely as a Well, you were sort of testing, I guess. You were aiming at just getting it all right without sort of going overboard with anything, and you end up winning first prize.
Well, yeah, something like it's more, that's more or less correct. It was a 70-second scale model. I thought that the average in that um, category was too low for me to be happy with. So I built a little tank, and I didn't do too much to it. I just basically did some kind of like pre-shading looking effects. I mean, I just primed it in black, and then just, when I went over it with green, I just painted in the middle in between the various panel lines and things, and then just did a light blending over the top with my airbrush. And then after that, I put a brown wash on it. Call it a day.
I took out first prize.
Yep.
But I think the key to that is that, and putting aside the wash that you put on, even that, I guess from an average model's point of view, is perhaps a step too far. But then the key things I sort of want to zero in on is that if you pay attention to the absolute basics, like getting rid of a seam line, you can have a fantastic kit sitting in your bookcase.
Yeah. But see, like, even that tank that I did, it wasn't it's in a modeling competition, so it's not even, it's above average to begin with. Average modelers don't enter into competitions.
That's true. Unless they want to test themselves to push themselves further.
Yeah. I mean, like, you can, even if you're putting the absolute crummiest model into a modeling competition, probably already above average, right?
Mm. But then again, and most models are, sitting in the bookshelf, you're going to be 3 foot away from and just walk past them. It's only when you sort of step right up close and you start to see, and because as experienced modelers, we can sort of pick out, there's, this could have been done better or that could have been done better. But for the average dude who's just, as you said, Julian, perhaps building one or two a year, and even that's probably above his output level, and they stick them in a bookcase, and, from 2 or 3 feet away, they look pretty damn good.
Yes. Also, if you're not the kind of modeler to go to model shows, you've probably never seen like really good models up close, right? You've seen them on Facebook and Instagram, photographed impeccably.
Yep.
But when you see them up close in person, even like we're acclimatized to it. We see them all the time there, so we know what to expect. But I think they look prettier in those beautifully photographed, images than they do in real life, right? Because they're under perfect lighting conditions. But when you see them in real life, it's just a thing on a table.
Yeah, in crappy light conditions, sitting on a table, it's got a blue cloth put over it. It doesn't really sort of make it shine. Whereas it's like the old trick, you see with Sports Illustrated, where they sort of take a picture of a girl in a skimpy sort of bikini on the beach, and then they airbrush and enhance the picture to make it look like something that she's actually not.
Yeah, well, they can tweak the all the contrast and hue levels, and there's like, one of the more advanced techniques for scale modeling photography is the focus stacking. You can't do that in real life.
No, you can't. You can't.
A lot of the more like, once you get into the really high realms of really like weathered and interesting models, there's like small tonal variations in the color on the wing, and you go to the average model show and you'll never see that on the model when you see it in person, because the lighting's just not that great in real life.
Absolutely.
I've seen people try to attempt to rectify this by like having little USB powered lights over their model.
Which fails.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It doesn't really work.
No. The best light source is the sun. So taking a model outside, having a look at it that way, that's the best way.
Yeah, actually, it's really surprising how many models look fairly realistic once you can build a pretty average model, like a pretty like sort of basic, you squared away your seam lines, you've painted everything the appropriate color, and then you just take it outside and take a photo of it, and you can fool a lot of people into thinking it's fairly it's the real deal.
It reminds me of a guy who builds cars like from the 1930s and 40s, and then takes them outside and takes photographs of them. And geez, you got to look at them 2 or 3 times to try and pick that they're actually a model.
Yep. I mean, we can pick it, but can the average person pick it?
Well, even then, I've got to look twice or even 3 times to try and determine whether it's a model or not.
Yeah, true.
But you know,
I've had some good ones lately.
Yeah. So the underlying thing, and again, I really want to push is that, you know, don't be intimidated by these conversations, or don't be intimidated by pictures you see on social media or on forums. It's okay just to build to your level. It's okay just to be an average modeler, and that's cool. Not everybody not everybody in the army is going to be an Audie Murphy.
And yeah, we're all on our own journey. You
Yeah.
know, some of us improve a lot faster than others. Certainly, I'm very slow at improving because I don't take many risks.
Yeah, you know, that's funny. I'd put myself in the same class as you, actually, Julian. I'm very, very slow, and I'm adverse to risks. Even I mean, how many times will we sort of say, "Oh, you know, you need to have a paint mule"? Yes, I do have a paint mule, but it's not that often I'll sort of drag out the paint mule and test a new sort of way of doing things on it. I sort of know I've got my own groove, and I'm sort of happy in that groove, and sort of, you know, push forward. And I guess in some respects, I think you could almost say that I'm stagnant to a certain degree.
Wow, that makes me sound really bad. I mean, I'm not stagnant. I would hate to be stagnant, personally. But at the same time, I don't even do testings on a paint mule. So does that make me more stagnant than you?
Well,
I'm just too lazy to use a paint mule.
Yeah. I don't know.
I just have to find like builds that I don't care about, you know. Like, oh, I'll build this one for entry into Expo, or I'll build this for this display, and I don't really care about the subject, so I'll just try out some things on it.
Well, in closing off this discussion, all I can say to everybody out there listening is sing as if no one's listening, dance as if no one's watching, I should say, and that's how you should approach your modelling. If you do want to push yourself and move forward, by all means do it, and I'll be there cheering you from the sidelines for sure. But if you're at a particular level, don't be discouraged by what you're seeing or what you're hearing or what people are suggesting you should do. If you're in a particular comfort zone and you're quite happy to be there, and well, then fine. That's good as well. As Ian said at the very beginning of this, it's all about having fun, and you should be having fun when you're building. If you're not, then find another hobby.
Exactly.
Have you ever met someone who almost seems like they're not having fun with modeling, and they're just in it to improve at as rapid a rate as possible in order to win a competition?
No, I haven't.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. They're kind of a tragic, because on one hand, like, you know, you kind of like, okay, best of luck to you. I hope you get, you know, achieve your dreams and get as good as you want to be. But it's kind of a shame that you're not enjoying yourself at the same time.
Yeah, and usually at the end of the competition, they're the ones that are most crestfallen and disillusioned.
Yeah, they're the ones that are likely to go up to the judge and say, "Oh, I don't think you judged it properly." Like, chill out, dude. There's next year.
Yep. Exactly.
And even if you're a really top modeler, like, there's still a degree of there's still a lot of variables in there, right?
I was this way, Julie. No matter how good you think you are, there's someone out there's going to be a lot better.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, you can win it like 3 times in a row and think you're the best, and then, you know, it'll be that one year that one weird modeling hermit comes out of the sticks Comes to the big smoke and he blows everyone away with the model he's been chipping away at for the last 7 years.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, guys, I might wrap it up there. So, from Ian.
Photo etch is your friend and always will be.
Julian.
Yeah, coffee's your friend or something.
Well, that's it from me. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back in a fortnight. In the meantime, build as if no one else is watching. Catch you later.